Good morning, Professor Winter.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for joining us. First of all, could you please introduce yourself for our audience?
Absolutely. My name is Helen Winter. I am an assistant professor of law and practice at the Straus Institute at Pepperdine School of Law. And I'm also a lawyer and mediator from Germany and co-founder of the organization Resolute. And Resolute trains refugees and also German locals, but mostly refugees, as peer mediators in their communities, such that they can resolve conflicts that arise, for example, in a refugee shelter and the neighborhood on their own. So they are the ones becoming mediators. They are the ones resolving their conflicts. I have also written my PhD about this topic, and as part of this journey, I was a research fellow just recently before this job here at Harvard Law School at the program on negotiation.
Wow, it's great. Can you tell us more about this organization, about that helping refugees?
Yeah, so basically I did my Master of Laws, just like yourself, at Pepperdine in 2016, so 7 years ago now. And, at that point in time, the refugee crisis happened in Germany. So 1.2 million refugees came from all over the world to Germany, and we were quite overburdened. And, there were no mechanisms in place on how to host so many people and, how to give them food and shelter. And so as a result, I was feeling quite guilty that I'm not there, that I'm actually in Malibu, enjoying the sun, and that I had a scholarship. I was very privileged. And my friends were helping, with basic needs at that point. And I was thinking, them to an actual crisis like what was happening in Germany. So I decided to write all my papers about this and went into that topic and talked to some friends, basically in the US, about creating an organization that would promote peer mediation there and would train people as peer mediators. And just a few months later, when I was back in Germany, there was a team that helped me do this. We went to local language cafes. We asked people, hey, is this something you want to learn about? And the refugees were excited about it. And that's how, more people joined, refugees joined the team, and that's how it really started.
Oh, it's fantastic.
Yeah, and so after that, we tried to go into the refugee shelters and give workshops there and trainings. In the beginning, that was really hard because people were like, okay, what is mediation? But then we understood how to do it, how to include the shelter's management and other organizations that already have established trust with the participants, and how to work together and then do these trainings. And as a result of that, we have now trained, I think, more than 2,000 people in peer mediation in Germany, in mostly Berlin, but also Brandenburg, Lower Saxony, and online. So we have trained people, during COVID online, and we've done story sharings, dialogue work among refugees that are in different countries all around the world, and that can connect with each other and talk about the challenges they face and the problems they have, while at the same time encouraging each other and forming a network of support to rebuild a life, because they've lost everything, and the first thing they want to do is rebuild a life and learn the language and find a job. And so this was very nice to establish a platform for them to talk about these things. Yeah,
it's great. Is it possible to join your team, like your organization, in Germany?
Yeah, so basically, now I'm a full-time professor, so I've transitioned into academia, but I'm also still involved with Resolute, and things are going on the ground. And so we always welcome people who want to support us or volunteer with us, definitely. And what I would love to see is to get students involved in this kind of work. And so I'm creating a class right now for next term on ADR and social entrepreneurship, and trying to find the social problem in the world and applying the tools of ADR to that, and thinking about designing solutions. So that's why, that's the start. Ideally, I would like students to be involved in training refugees online or in person, because a lot of students are also migrants and they care about this and they want to have an impact in the world. So that's now my focus of what I will hopefully do. I mean, also at HLS, we've done it before. We've had the team of the negotiators. That's a team of students. They designed a negotiation workshop for refugees, and they asked a lot of questions, like, to the participants, like, what do you want to learn about? What are the conflicts you typically see in your daily life? What do you want to apply, like in which cases, which type of conflicts? And so in the end, they trained them as negotiators, and the students were training the participants, the refugees. So it was really, really nice, because I think it is a win-win for both sides. And there's not many organizations or even universities out there that do this type of work, even though it's so important. And that's and that's fascinating to see. And so for me, it would be really nice, as long as I'm here and will be given more ideas and tasks, that I can promote this type of work as well. Yeah.
It's great. And did any of your students become mediator, or?
Oh, so I started this role in May this year, and so for me it's still very early to see, because I'm only just beginning teaching mediation this term, and of course, I mean, I'm super happy to see that some of my students are already mediators in their country, and they are coming to Straus to learn more and to, harness their skills and deepen their knowledge. And then, hopefully some of them, they are already saying, like, yeah, this is an interesting topic. This is something I care about, and I want to get involved in this type of cross-cultural mediation work. Where others are more interested in business mediation and just thinking about mediation as a discipline that is, not just one thing, but can be so diverse and can include story sharing or peace building. That is something I would love for the students to understand, that it can be something that they can shape themselves and that they can apply themselves in their lives, wherever that may be, in any context that they care about.
Thank you. And can you tell us more about Straus Institute? Because I had the majority my guests from Straus Institute, but they never talked about Straus itself.
Oh, okay. So the Straus Institute for Dispute Resolution is an institute based at Pepperdine School of Law, and we have several master programs for dispute resolution, for arbitration, negotiation, and mediation. You can do it in person. We also have online programs, and we train people, lawyers from all around the world. So, the majority of our LLM students are international students that come from all around the world to learn about mediation. It's ranked #1 in the world. And I'm also the advisor now for international LLM students, which is amazing, because I've been an international student myself, all these years ago, 7 years ago. So I know all these questions that can come up, starting with living in Los Angeles, which is really different than living in Germany, for example, and navigating that with the students. And at the same time, we're not just doing masters, we also do trainings. We recently trained federal judges. We recently were in Switzerland just last week, training global mediators from all around the world in mediation. I was just there and just came back from that training. So we do a lot of trainings at the same time as academia and research and being with the students. So it's really a very niche institute that goes into all of this, and the focus is on ADR.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And just moving back, it's always fascinating to learn why professionals become mediator. Can you tell us a story why you came to this field?
Oh yeah, that's such a good question. So for me, it started really early. So right after law school, or actually during my last year of law school, I had a class taught by Professor Duve, who was a partner at that time at Freshfields, and I was at Heidelberg University, and he taught a class on negotiation. And then after that, I was sold. I said, okay, this is exactly what I want to do. I was never really happy in law school. I loved, human rights law, public international law. And at the same time, I really didn't like the kind of rigorous nature of the law when it's about litigation, things like that. So I really appreciated the new angle of negotiation and mediation. And then at some point, somebody from Pepperdine came speak at Heidelberg University about the program here, about the master's program. And then I was like, okay, I will just try to apply. And so they linked me up with some alum from Germany, and I talked to them. And so, one thing led to another. I applied, and I got I got in, and I got also financial support, which was very, very nice and helpful. And so I started right after law school. I started learning about mediation before even practicing law. And after that, I never wanted to go back. And I always wanted to stay in mediation, mediated cases as part of the clinic here with Professor Blondell, and then also, mediated in Germany while, setting up that organization. And also, I mean, it's such a good skill to learn, even when you're building an organization, convincing people, thinking about what they think, putting yourself in their shoes. So since then, I never left the field, and I've been in the field, since 2016. Yeah.
It's an amazing story. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And since you are from Europe, can you tell some maybe cultural differences? Have you noticed any cultural difference in mediating cases with people from Europe, for instance, and in the US?
Yes, I mean, that is a really good question. You always have to keep in mind cultural differences. And just by preparing for mediation, thinking about, okay, who are you going to meet? Who are the parties? Where are they from? And then also adapting this kind of mindset of a learner, and knowing that you can never know what a particular culture actually does or expects you to do, and also coming in with that mindset of curiosity and asking questions, open questions about, how is that in your culture? Help me understand. And also know that you might be wrong, that you might make mistakes, and then acknowledging these mistakes is really helpful. And then, of course, it has helped me, in the US, sometimes that I have an accent, because I'm perceived as more vulnerable. And also it helps because the parties open up, and when you don't understand something, say, could you please reframe that? And then people are sometimes happy to say it in a different way, because that really gets to the interest, that really gets to the deeper levels of the conflict, if they have to say it differently. And I think that can actually be perceived as a strength rather than weakness. And at the same time, even in Germany, I was mediating multicultural cases involving people from, for example, Syria. We had female Syrians that wanted to promote peace in their country, for example. And there the customs are very different. And there it always makes sense to work together with a co-mediator who's, from that same culture, who can then help, translate culturally, but also language-wise. And so that is really, really, really good to just bring in somebody who knows about the culture. That can be another trick, because then you can always say, what, I don't know anything, what it's like, to have witnessed war, but I can be here and I can guide you through this mediation, give you some of the tools of mediation.
Yes, cultural difference, always interesting.
Yeah, it's so fascinating. And it's, but it shouldn't scare you away. It's just, yeah. And I mean, it happens a lot that people, like, even in the workshops, that like, oh, how come you are the mediator here and how come you are the trainer here as a young white woman? And then in the end, the very same people who are saying that are the ones that if you show up again and again and again and you build trust and you kind of just basically are transparent about that and think about, okay, yeah, in Germany we value education. It's not as much about life experience and so on. Then in the end, they are the people who say, you have to ask Helen, she's the boss. And they buy into this idea, but it's not about changing a mindset. It's really about working together, accepting that everybody's coming from a different mindset, from a different culture, and just accepting that. And then just observing what happens and what people themselves bring to the table, because there's so much knowledge on mediation that cross-cultural parties bring to the table. They already know from their cultures. So why would we assume that we know better? We don't know anything. So we let them bring that knowledge to the mediation table.
My wife, she always says that I'm so rude when I speak in English, but I just want to be direct, like not. It's probably my culture. I just want to say what I want to say.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, German culture is very direct too. So we are kind of direct and we say what we think. And sometimes, even when it's a joke, it can be perceived as too direct. But in the end of the day, we don't mean it. There's no negative intent. So we don't mean it in a negative way. And as long as you can always say like, yeah, this is just kind of my culture. But also I feel like we are all cultural hybrids. We pick up so many different things from living in the US or living abroad, or, the people we are with. We cannot just say we're this or that, but there's of course elements to it. And then again, people assume that I'm on time because I'm German and sometimes I'm late. So you cannot stereotype the cultures as well.
And my last question for today, how do you see the future of mediation? Are there any potential developments that could impact the field positively?
Yeah, that's a nice question to end with. I think that, in Germany, the future of mediation is bright. I think it's growing, especially because the field is still kind of evolving. And so I think we are, of course, ahead here in the States. 90% of all cases here are mediated, whereas in Germany, the majority of cases is litigated. So it's really, really hard to say, but I do think that it's changing. There's a lot of opportunity now for mediation. I think that also, with the rise of ODR, online mediation, there will be more going on. There will be more dispute resolution systems in place online. With the rise of AI, that is also something that will be more common. So I think that the future is positive. And I also believe that the more people learn about mediation or are trained in mediation, the more mediation will be used and will become number one tool of dispute resolution.
Thank you. And what do you think about mandatory mediation?
Well, I think mediation, first of all, it's better than mandatory, for example, arbitration, I think. But at the same time, mediation, one of the principles is that mediation is voluntary. It's a voluntary process. And I think that creates safety. And I think that it's good that mediation is a voluntary process and that people are the ones buying into the process, because it's all about empowering the parties. Because this process is all about the parties. And, if they are there voluntarily, they are already, buying into the process. They are shaping it. They're, making it efficient and better. And so I feel like it's something that kind of contradicts the principles of mediation, while at the same time, what's the alternative? So thinking about the alternative, I think it will still help. It will be something that can resolve conflict, but I'm not a fan of mandatory mediation. Yeah.
Here, I just heard about such requirements in Italy, and they saying that it's not like we require the process of mediation, but not the outcome.
Yeah, I mean that's a good argument, of course, saying like, okay, we require the process, not the outcome, so that you can at least try it, and if it fails, you know, you have another option of litigation, for example. That makes sense to me. I just do feel like that mediation is more powerful when people opt in voluntarily and also believe in the process to begin with and try it, because I feel like, you know, there's no harm in trying and then realizing it works or it doesn't work. And so, you know, Italy is at the forefront of this. I mean, they're doing a lot right now. And mediation is a good thing. So, you know, there's nothing wrong with that, but I'm just questioning the philosophy that is behind it. But, you know, as there is other alternatives, it's good to try mediation. And, you know, if it works out, that's amazing. If not, then, you know, then at least they tried it. But I always believe in people buying into the idea on their own.
Yeah. Thank you, Professor Winter, for staying with us, for your professional expertise.
Thank you so much. I'm very happy about this conversation, and yeah, and anybody who has questions, I think we can put a bio in the comments or something, or
yeah, sure.
you know how it works, and then they can reach out to me.
Yeah, sure.
Good.